to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
Buy Box Bandits, episode 34. Today we have our largest seller yet, my man Dan, otherwise known as 1,000 ASINs on social media, in what looks to be a fantastic warehouse background that I know a lot of products go through. So Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Yep. Thank you for sure. So do you want to take us back and how you got into Amazon and all this online business stuff you're into now?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 35 years old. I might be a little older than a lot of the listeners, but props to all you guys for starting so young. That's really awesome. But before Amazon, I was a real estate agent in New York City for probably about 8 years, and did pretty well with that, and ended up buying a couple of properties. So I had some capital to start with, and I was just kind of sick of real estate, sick of the career, sick of just hustling and dealing with all these really bossy New York City people. And I was just getting burnt out. Just wasn't, the novelty wore off. It wasn't that fun anymore. And so I was just Googling ideas, like passive income ideas, like side hustle ideas, just like, looking for a change. And I came across Amazon private label on YouTube. That was pretty much the only type of content out there on YouTube, like 3 or 4 years ago when I started. And it was really intriguing to me. I digested a bunch of that content and got really close to starting in private label, but then also read some horror stories. And I was like, maybe how can I do this a little smaller stakes? And that's when I came across arbitrage, which is like, you can just do it really small ball to start. So I figured rather than starting with the hardest way first, which in my opinion is private labeling, start with the easiest way first, which is just like, buy 5 of something and see if you can sell it on Amazon. Yeah. So that's what I did to get started. I just got my feet wet. I downloaded some scanner app. I forget what it's even called anymore, but I went through a store, a Target, and a couple other places, and I found like 3 or 4 products. Just picked up like 10 of them, brought them back to my apartment, and made a Seller Central account and just went through the motions, and then just started selling things really, really small ball, just to like prove the model basically. And everything sold faster than I thought. And I was like, wow. And so I would just go, 10 units at a time at first, like, little stacks of products in my apartment floor. And I was buying more and more to the point where my apartment was getting really full, and I was like stepping around stuff to even get around. So everything was still selling, and I was going deeper on products, and it was still selling. And so I just gained some more confidence and said, let's just go for it. And I still had real estate on the side where I could do like a sale here and there, rental here and there. So my schedule is very flexible. So I could devote like, 20, 30 hours to arbitrage, which was a perfect balance for a while. That's what I did the first probably half a year. And then it just got to a tipping point where I'm like, all right, this is really working well. And so I just bought more products, signed a lease for a 1,000 square foot space, and just put a desk in the back and just a couple prep tables, and just, did the next step. And that year one, it was just, mostly retail and online arbitrage. I gravitated towards online arbitrage better, more and more as time went on. And but within 12 months, I was making 6-figure income, like making about 10 grand a month. That led us into 2020, I believe. So I started, 2019 was my first full year of it. I started like just before Q4 2018. So I've been doing this about 4 years. So 2018 was like, made a few grand. 2019 made about 100. 2020 is where things really took off, mainly due to the pandemic. So like I had a decent sized bankroll for products at that point, like 50 or 100K, but we like the first few months of the pandemic, we identified some products that just absolutely flew. Like it's it's to the point now where I can just tell you what it was. But so like these bags of instant yeast, it was like these 1 pound bags of yeast. And typically the rank was pretty good. It would be like ranked 5,000 in grocery, selling for like $7-8. And it was a product I was already replanning and making like $1 or $2 off. But then I went to replan it again, noticed it wasn't even in the catalog anymore. I'm like, what's going on here? And what had happened is every single person sold through, it wasn't discoverable anymore. Then we looked at the Keep It chart and the rank just plummeted down to like 1 in the category and no one had it. And we're like, wow, okay, this is wild. So we went to this place called Restaurant Depot.
I've heard of it. Yeah, I've heard of it.
400 or 500 units of yeast, like 20 cases of 20. And we're like, all right, let's pick some of this up and send it into FDA. We send it in and it sold like absolute lightning. Just like, it was gone in about 5 minutes. 400 units in 5 minutes. And this was at $20 a piece. So
you're like doubling your money or something on that.
Yeah, the ROI was like 500%.
Yeah,
like,
more than that.
Yeah,
he was selling it
like
at $7.
$2. We're making like $8 to $10 a unit. And we were like, oh my God. And so then I just looked far and wide for like as much as I could get my hands on. And through a lot of dedication, we found like, we found a bakery that had a account with like a big yeast supplier. So we got like pallets and pallets of it from that guy. We opened a couple of distributor accounts, got some more pallets that way. We went to like every Restaurant Depot in the Northeast, got a few thousand more that way. And ended up selling like, I don't even know, like 20, 30,000 units. So I went from having like, 10K months to a few months in a row where I made like 100 to 200K.
Great. And that's that's like eye-opening stuff, man. I was checking your Instagram. You just below 6 million last year. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. So that story, like that was the turning point that kind of catapulted me into like a whole new realm of sales because I had the bankroll to do it at that point. Like I've never had a problem sourcing products. There's always been like more that I can buy. I buy. So that now that I had a bankroll of like several $100,000, I could then I'd have a lot more buying power and I'd go like I just bought a lot more stuff. Basically, that's all it really was. And so then I started having like $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 sales months, and just kept churning that in like as many replens as I could. And then obviously you snowball that into even more and even to more. And I try to not pull too much money out of the business so I can just plop it all back in inventory. And so now, 2021, I almost doubled my sales. I went from like close to 4 million in 2020 to 6 in 2021. My goal is 10 for 2022. And that's what I love about the business. Like you can scale infinitely. The only real challenge once you get the machine going is like getting the systems and the people in place to just do the volume. But like that's what excited me about this business so much in the beginning too. It's like, all right, if this works for 100 products, it'll work just as well with 200. It will work just as well with 500, 1,000, 10,000. There's no limit. So unlike the corporate ladder, it's like there's like you have to like survive and be one of the few to like earn more, exponentially more. You have to like basically become an executive. But this business is just like infinitely scalable to the point where there is no cap whatsoever. So
did you have did you have your eyes set on wholesale before the yeast endeavor, or did you just kind of fall into it on accident?
Yeah, I actually Larry Watch Me Amazon really inspired me to get into wholesale. Like he put up, I saw his like very first video he put out, and I was like, this guy, like I want to just be this guy basically. And so he kind of like, I watched all his videos. I'm like, all right, this is cool. And then he was like the big catalyst for me, like wanting to do wholesale instead of OA. And I still do some OA, like I'm about 70% wholesale, 30% OA. But so I like over time, over the past couple of years, it's become more and more wholesale. I don't look for any new OA stuff unless it will net me, thousands of dollars very easily, or is like replenishable and makes, a lot of profit per month. So I'm very picky now. Like I won't do one-off OA products anymore. I look for like replenishable product lines. Like I have 2 ridiculously good OA replen product lines that comprise like 30% of my sales. Like they'll net like 20, 30, 40,000 a month. And you can just buy them month in, month out. So like I'm not going to sneeze at OA, and there's like tons and tons of opportunity in OA as well. You can make a massive business exclusively out of it, and it's a lot of fun. Frankly, it's more fun than wholesale. But wholesale is a lot easier at scale in a lot of ways, and just easier to procure product, lots of it. So
yeah, it's a lot to unpack here. I like the way you talked about replenishable stuff. That's a major key. And kind of thinking about your past career as a real estate agent, if you wanted to make more money, you had to go sell another house, which is different property, all that. But with some of these products, you can buy them over and over again. I'm sure what you're working to do is a lot of them. So that compounds growth. And for each item you source, there's a lifetime value to that. If it's actually replenishable, you can go ahead and keep making more off it. And another thing I love is that you talked about still doing OA. A lot of people want to be one or the other, when I know Garrett's business is the same way. He does some of both, and it seems to be a really nice balance.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's no reason to be rigid in your thinking. Like the Amazon's just one big puzzle, and like each business model is just a region of that puzzle. And there's a lot of overlap between them too. So I kind of like try to zoom out. Like wholesale is related to private label, which is related to OA. It's like, the whole thing is a big related ecosystem. So there's no reason to just be like, I only do wholesale. It's just a pointless limiting way to run your business, in my opinion. So
That's a cool way to look at it.
yeah. And then, like I get people wanting to go away from OA into wholesale due to account health reasons. That's a valid concern, but there are ways to go about OA where it's there's not much risk, really.
Yeah. And from my experience as of late, I think Amazon's getting a lot nicer to OA sellers in taking receipts on IP complaints. Garrett and I have both seen this the past few months. I'm curious if you're seeing anything similar in terms of account health with OA products.
Yeah, absolutely. They've gotten way, way better with account health stuff. I'll tell you a horror story about my early Amazon career. So like probably about a year into it, when things were going pretty well, I got suspended due to IP complaints. I had 3 IP complaints, and at that point I didn't really know how to properly address account health stuff. So I blame myself in part for this, but I had 3 unaddressed IP complaints. I never reached out to the brand to try and get them appealed or anything, and they suspended me, and I was suspended for 4 months. And I was suspended so long, they made me recall all my inventory, and I had about 8,000 units in Amazon. They sent it all back. I had to pay like 5,000 removal order fees, all the stuff just like stacked to the ceiling in my little space. And I went through 3 different suspension consultants, spent almost 10,000 trying to get my account back. And I got the 3 IP complaints retracted, and that still wasn't enough. And I sent like 3 or 4 or 5, 6 appeals, I forget how many. And they were so backed up, it was a 2-week wait for a response. So I'd wait 2 weeks, get the email, and like my heart would skip a beat. I'm like, oh my God. I'd click into the email, and it was just a canned, like, we can't accept your appeal. We need more information on the root cause, more information on this, it was just an absolute nightmare. It was like honestly traumatizing. But I'm glad that happened early, because now I know how serious account health is, and like it should always be priority 1 to like maintain your account. It's the most urgent, most important thing you can possibly do in your Amazon business is stay in the good graces of Amazon. But to the people listening, like they have gotten a lot better in the past year or 2, a lot better. Like when I got suspended, there was no option to call an account health specialist. there was no account health dashboard, and the responses were all the same template. Now the responses have a lot more color to them, where it's like, oh, we can't accept your invoice because this is an order confirmation, not an invoice, or it doesn't cover the amount of units sent to Amazon in the past 365 days. They'll give you like not only what, like they can't accept it, but why, specifically why. So it makes it infinitely easier. Before, you were just guessing at it, guessing at what they meant, and it was, Amazon heard the sellers loud and clear, I think, because they really did improve that part of it. And I used to be very, very, very worried all the time, like in the back of my head about another suspension, but they've made a lot of really good improvements where I think that's okay now. And like, yeah, it's definitely less of a concern than it used to be, which is great for everyone. So,
Do y'all have your own specialist now?
my own specialist for account health.
Yeah, so I've heard from some other like top 5, top 10% sellers that they pay, I think they said $5,000 a month to have like a direct representative that they
Oh
can
yeah,
always reach
yeah,
out to.
like the Amazon account rep.
Yeah. Are you part of that program?
I'm not, because I just haven't seen the value yet. Like I might when I like double or quadruple my sales.
Yeah.
Hopefully that happens. But right now it's just too big a portion of my income, and like I just don't see what they'd really do for me. I guess in an emergency that it's like a human to talk to, but I've even heard cases where like the account rep is like, yeah, this team is being really difficult. There's not much I can do. So yeah, I'm not in the program. I don't know too much about it, but all I know is 5,000 to me right now is a little too much. But,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm aware of that program. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've written appeals and stuff, like, and I'm a pretty decent writer, and I've scoured every account health website, read all their blog posts, watched every YouTube video about account health while I was suspended. So like, I'd consider myself honestly as good as account health as those like consultants I would hire. So I'm pretty confident now.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing, just kind of summing up everything we talked about, in terms of like one little nuance within account health I've seen is sometimes when I get an IP complaint, they'll ask for 365 days worth of invoices. Sometimes they'll just ask for one. I'm curious if you know of a specific threshold on sales of an ASIN that quantifies that, or if it's just random.
Yeah, it sounds random, like whether they'd request that, but yeah, I know for invoices in general, they want to see it cover the last 365 days of sales. So like, that's where that number comes from. So yeah, if you're selling a product, just make sure you have receipts or invoices to cover everything you sent into Amazon in the last 365 days. Before that, it just doesn't matter to them.
And one other, this is kind of becoming an account health masterclass, which I think is super valuable. But say I get one and I never address it and it drops off after 6 months, but then I get another one on the same ASIN. Have you ever run into anything like that?
Yeah, that can happen. I've had inauthentic complaints like 4 times on the same ASIN.
I have as well. Yeah. When you replenish stuff, it's kind of unfortunately just bound to happen.
Yeah. Some types of products, like beauty products and stuff, like there's always like 1 out of 100 people are like, oh, this is fake. Like I saw some video about the fake packaging, like, and they're just wrong. They're just blatantly wrong, but they'll do it. But yeah, like if you don't address, like, they'll notate if you address the complaint, even if they don't accept your appeal. It's considered at least addressed or like attempted to be addressed. If you completely ignore it and it falls off your dashboard, it's still on your account. And I think like, the stuff just gets added. Like they have like, I think probably algorithmic thresholds. Like if you get this many inauthentic complaints versus how many units you sell,
that makes sense.
It'll trigger like a review, and so it's like there will be more tolerance the bigger seller you are. Like the more tolerance your account can take. Like a $5 million seller could take like 50 account health warnings across the 5 categories, and then like a seller with brand new metrics and minimal sales, like 1 or 2 could knock them out. So there's that. I would say just like always address account health stuff. Even if you don't have like the right invoice, at least like address it, because I think that helps a little bit. but if it falls off your dashboard, that doesn't mean it's just like your account resets. I think it's always notated. Like Amazon knows everything, and everything they do is driven by algorithms. So I think it's just like, you know, ratios of like how many problems to how many sales you're getting type of things in different categories.
Because some of our friends that do really big, at least to us, you know, 200, 300K a month, like last summer, which was way beyond done stuff like that now. But back then they would get crazy high ODRs and it'd be fine. Like just people I've seen on socials and everything. And that shows that Amazon realizes how much money they're making from that seller. And that, that person's you know, clearly not scamming people if thousands of orders are getting.
Yeah, exactly. They're starting to finally have some common sense. It's like that people in the US here, like trying to just run their small businesses are not like, you know, thieves and shysters and trying to push fake product. Like, yeah, there are some bad actors, but like, they've got to realize 99% of the sellers are like honest people trying to, you know?
Yeah. And I definitely, it's glad we're all agreeing that I have seen the past few months, like receipts are passing on IP complaints, which is, it helps me sleep better at night. Definitely. And I've seen it several, like 5+ times the past few months, which is really nice,
Amazon, yeah, that's definitely a huge relief.
I can see the joy in your face, like saying that.
I mean, really, I mean, it's the work. I would say the worst part of selling on Amazon is Amazon themselves, like dealing with their account health and seller support and stuff like, but yeah, it seems like they've instilled a little bit more common sense and like the whole, I think they understand the IP loophole now, that like companies can just use that as a tool to kick people off their listings. And it's not actually
what happened to Alex like a few weeks ago. You talked to him about that? That's crazy stuff. Hopefully we'll get him on and we'll talk about that then. But luckily he just recently got reinstated.
Yeah, that's huge news.
It just makes sense. I mean, we all know the statistics and have heard the statistics in terms of how much of Amazon's volume comes from third-party sellers. It makes sense that they would start to pay a little bit more attention to the people that are generating their business now. 70, 80%, 90% of their volume. Kind of switching gears a little bit. Obviously, we see that big warehouse. Can you give us some perspective in terms of what your business looks like now with the team that you have supporting you, that sort of thing?
Yeah, sure. Let me try and tilt this laptop.
We're getting the viewpoint.
A little bit more.
Looks like a Home Depot. It's loaded up there.
Yeah. So this is like a little conference table.
Chessboard. Are you any good at chess?
I'm okay. I'm like a 1300 rating. I'll beat like the average Joe, but I'm definitely not good. I need real standard. Yeah, little kitchenette. I've got about 5,000 square feet. So like, got some pallet racks for some inventory that I buy and feed into Amazon. And then, you know, a big warehouse floor. And then here, I'll just walk around it.
Oh, this is good. All right, everyone, make sure to watch this on YouTube too. This is good. This is a real behind the scenes look.
He's got the cornhole board. That's the most important part of the warehouse right there.
So yeah, I got like box supplies, some inventory, and then we've got like paper dunnage, plastic dunnage bins. These can wheel around. I've got two prep stations here. So like, so this is where like my warehouse employees will receive inventory into with different software and print labels out and stuff. So I've got like probably showing some of my products, but whatever. I got the 4x6 labels here.
Oh yeah, you were showing all that on the gram the other day.
Yeah, and then I love this printer. This is the Zebra ZT230. Just prints very fast, and unlike the like beginner office printers, you have to change them like every 500 labels. It gets really annoying when you're doing high volume. So like the printers, I'm kind of a geek, but I really love like the warehouse tech and stuff. So yeah, basically just like, you know, computers in the front, receive stuff in, prep on the tables, finished product. It's kind of like Watch Me Amazon. It's like I'll pile out each like finished SKU, and then I print 2D barcodes out and build freight shipments. So yeah, it's pretty empty in here right now, actually. But let's see the other side. So this is actually my friend's side over here. I've got a good friend from home, and we do the same exact thing. He's got a similar size business. He's just not active on social media, but yeah. So we like wrap the pallets up, and we do like a weekly freight shipment out to Amazon. And yeah, like the front's like receiving, got a bunch of pallets stacked up. So like our flow is like, it comes through our loading dock. We put the unfinished product in the front. We work on it one purchase order at a time, basically. So like, and then we prep it, label it, and then we merge each PO into one larger shipment for the week. So we just like continually add stuff to one shipment per week, and we ship it out freight to Amazon. And yeah, once you do volume, you save a bunch of money on shipping that way. Like you pay like 5 to 10 cents a pound, whereas like, you know, all the new sellers out there, the arbitragers, like usually doing small parcel, and you'll pay like 25 to up to 50 cents a pound. Doesn't seem like much, but when you get bigger, like, you know, it's a lot of savings. So, and then one tip I'll just give you guys randomly. So for freight, I used to use Amazon partnered freight, but it's very, very slow. It'll take like 4, 5, 6 weeks to check in sometimes, which really sucks, because like in this business, you're trying to turn over your inventory. The faster you can turn it over, the faster your ROI per year, basically. You know, if you can do 6 inventory turns versus 4,
massive difference.
Your ROI has gone up massively. So that's kind of the name of the game. So so if you use non-partnered freight, it can often be a lot faster. It applies to certain regions. Like if you're around New York City or like a major city, they should have local freight carriers that have daily delivery appointments with Amazon. And their whole business is just shuttling freight back and forth to like 1 or 2 fulfillment centers. And when I was in New Jersey, I used a company that would ship it to ABE8, which is a major fulfillment center in New Jersey. And it would check in that night or the next day, and then it would be received in full within 48 hours. And it was cheaper. It was like $50 a pallet. So once I switched over to that, it was like a total game changer, because I was really reluctant to use LTL because of how long it took to check in. Whereas small parcel, you know, it'll check in within a week anyway. Might be an FC transfer for a couple of weeks, but like it felt faster than Amazon partnered LTL. But then when I switched to non-partnered, man, just massive difference. Like it's just a joy to see like a 10,000 unit shipment check in and FC transfer, and like a portion of that will come available for sale immediately. And that's something everyone can do, especially around like a more populous area. There should be, just like Google, you know, freight carriers are in your area, and most of them will be familiar with Amazon, and some of them should have daily delivery appointments. And because that's a lot of times what the holdup is. They have to call Amazon for a delivery appointment. They'll be like, oh, we're booked out for like 2.5 weeks, sorry. And then they get some date like way out in the future. But yeah, certain carriers like just made them all in advance, like every single day. And then they just shuttle it back and forth and like skip the line, as it were. So that's just a tip, like for anyone doing LTL or eventually going to be doing LTL, go for non-partnered for sure.
Yeah, a
Tip of
couple
the day right
questions.
there.
Yeah, I mean, this is the stuff you only get from people doing serious scale. Like I'm really excited about this episode so far. In terms of like, I've seen your Rakuten checks you post on Instagram. Like you're clearly buying a lot OA as well. Do you ever deal with order cancellations, addresses getting burned, all that kind of stuff?
Fortunately not. I've identified like 2 or 3 retailers that I buy most from that just allow for repeat orders, but I have had orders canceled for sure. And I've ultimately just dropped to those retailers. I know a lot of people play that game. They're very good at it. Like Oscar, for instance, with shoes, and, you know, like procuring 100 or 500 pairs of really coveted shoe drop. It's just amazing. Or like Oscar will get like 50 PS5s like sent to location. Like that's incredible to me. And like, and I know it can be done, but it's not the avenue I ever went down or wanted to, because, you know, I'm not like 22 anymore. And like, I feel like you guys, like, I mean, I'm pretty young still, obviously. I'm pretty good with computers. But you guys are kind of like next level. You guys like grew up with them, and like the whole botting thing like comes, I don't know, it seems to come very naturally, and like discords and shit like that just confuses me. So, it's just not like second nature to me. But so I know like guys like that try to get like cop like really tough to the cop items, like that's a whole other game. And I dabbled in it a little when I was next to Oscar. Like, you know, he would show me a little bit of what's going on, and I tried, and I was just like, you know, this is too hard. Like I just gave up. And then along those same lines, like with the retailers, like canceling orders, certain ones, like, you know, if you do like 2 orders or 3 back to back and they cancel you, I'm just like, F this.
Yeah, profitable.
You know, like
elsewhere.
I know you can put in like different card info. You can like, you know, they're buying groups you can start, which like all that is totally a viable way to do it. But the way I wanted to do it, it was largely through trial and error. But like, I just know, you know, my 2, 3, or 4 retailers I buy from, and I can just order 100 back-to-back orders in a day, and they'll all ship, no problem.
Such a nice feeling when they do. Like,
yeah,
like
for sure.
finding new ones and all that. Question that it definitely pain point for a lot of people, myself in general, definitely. So on that 6 mil or so, you probably spend 2.5 to 3.5 on inventory. What were strategies you've gone to get outside capital credit, or it maybe not? I'm just curious to hear how you've gone about getting the capital for inventory over the years.
Yeah, so I've utilized credit cards, as everyone should, because of the points and cash back and stuff. My favorite credit card of all time is the Capital One Spark. It's unlimited 2% cash back on everything. And that's where I put almost all my credit card spend on. I probably get about $4,000 to $6,000 back in cash back every month.
It's like,
it's pretty crazy.
And those are rebates. So like you could theoretically like decent portion of maybe all of living expenses off that. Incredible.
Exactly. Yeah. You can, that is actually, post-tax money if you do it the right way. Like you can convert it to points and then pay for travel, Airbnbs, like get Amazon gift cards with it, whatever. But like, yeah, it's post-tax money if you play it right. So I'm not aware of a better credit card than unlimited 2% back.
Chase is actually launching an unlimited 2% back in the next 2 weeks.
Okay,
I think
awesome.
It's like the 10th. So that I'm planning on getting that and the Spark. Hopefully.
Yeah. So I think more banks will jump on the bandwagon because I think the Spark very
competition wise, they just have to.
Definitely. Yeah. So, but back to your question. Yeah. So like, I've tried to get periodic credit limit increases, like if you have to turn a credit card for a few months and pay it off on time, the banks will recognize that eventually and open up more and more credit for you. So I've gotten the Spark to a point where I have a $250K credit line with them, and I'm in a whole different like tier, which is a product they don't even advertise. It's called the Spark Pro, and it doesn't report to your personal credit anymore. One like weird thing about the Capital One Spark, it reports to your personal credit, which a lot of people have complained about, apparently, including myself. And they never mentioned like, oh, well, you could get this other business like pro tier card and it won't anymore. But once I got approved for the increase, they're just like, by the way, this doesn't report to your personal anymore. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. If you get to the 250K eventually, then you will be Capital One Spark Pro, and then it falls off your personal credit report, which is nice. But yeah, so like that's strategy one, like request periodic increases on your credit cards. Strategy two, I got an EIDL loan from the SBA. So I got like 100K from them, and I'm actually applying for a regular SBA loan, a 7A loan. You know, people think like the SBA is only good for these like emergency loans, but that's not true. They do business loans at pretty favorable terms. So I'm trying to get 500K from them. And their rates will be pretty good. Like probably it's like a floating rate loan. So like they'll never lock in 3%. But yeah, it'll float from like, around 3 to 6 or 7% a year, I believe. And trying to lock in like a 7-year term for that. So like, I would say if you can qualify for an SBA loan, go for that. That's probably going to be cheaper than most like outside sources. Other sources of capital I have, PayPal Loan Builder. They just contact me and they're like, yeah, we could loan you some money. So I have $75K from them. And then I got a Marcus credit line, which was advertised to me on my Seller Central. So I got a $75K line from them. Very good interest rate, 6.99% per year. So I just like utilize that, make the payments when it's paid off, take another draw from it. And beyond that, you can also do like friends and family money. If you want, you can do like a profit share or just like, structure it as like debt, like, just borrowing money from a family member or something. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of it. Like I've just like scraped together as much credit as I can and like business financing as I can. And then of course, like the money that comes back from disbursements, you recycle all that. So.
Are you the only one purchasing?
Yes, right now I am the only one purchasing, which is pretty much my full-time job right now, just buying stuff. And I'm actually hiring a buyer right now. I'm in the process of starting to hire a full-time buyer. I have 4 warehouse employees. I'm going to get a couple more. I'm hiring a buyer and I'm going to hire 1 to 2 virtual employees as well. And that's probably it for this year. But yeah, I'm doing all the buying. It's kind of fun. I mean, it's just like spending a bunch of money for a living, which is fun. I mean, that's why I like OA. It's like, I love like bargain hunting just in general. I just love a deal. Even for my personal stuff, like when I buy clothes, I'll just like look for a clearance. I'm like, oh, I can then rack it in 10% today. Oh, and look, I found like 7% off gift cards and like 2% on the Spark. Like I add it all together and I just like love getting a deal. I don't know. So it's a natural job for me.
Yeah. Reselling, it really numbs you to paying full price for stuff. Cause at the very least I'm getting like, Rakuten on it and stuff like that, but it really numbs you and you start looking for stuff naturally. In terms of one thing I know a lot of people could take away from this, of the many we've talked about so far, what strategies have worked best to you finding wholesale products, wholesale relationships and all that?
I would say by far is storefront stalking. So like once you're experienced on Amazon for a while, you can look at their store at a competitor storefront and know what type of seller they are. So I can click on a storefront and know within 1 second whether they're an arbitrage seller, a wholesale seller, or a private label seller. Like if the first page, and by the way, a storefront's products are loosely ranked, like they're displayed in order of like how fast they sell, but you probably put that together, but like it's usually like the fastest sellers first, and then it's like ordered by fastest to slowest sellers. But yeah, if you click on a storefront, it's like a bunch of Lego sets and Barbies and like video games and stuff. Like you're like, all right, that guy's like shopping at Walmart or wherever and arbitraging. And then if you click on another storefront and it's like all these like fast moving grocery items or like beauty products and like the rank is really low, like you're like, all right, that's a wholesale seller. And then if you click on a storefront and like they're the only seller on a bunch of products, that's their private label brand. So like I will stock other wholesale sellers, and I know like just from experience like who's a wholesale seller. And then it's really as easy as like, all right, what brands are they selling? And like, if it's like huge brands, then I'll know they're probably just getting it from a distributor. But if it's like this like little niche brand I've never heard of, there's a good chance they're just buying it directly from the brand. It's just like you can just take a storefront, list all the brands that they sell, and then just reach out to those brands. A lot of them have contact forms, and you just fill out a form and say like, hey, we're interested in purchasing this product wholesale. This is who we are. And then, they'll get back to you most of the time, or even some of the time. And that's really that. And then if it's like a larger company, you can try and buy from them direct. I buy from some like pretty huge companies direct, actually, surprisingly, like surprised they even opened the account, but it is possible. But if they are too big for you, you can just say, all right, if you won't sell to me directly, like who are your biggest distributors? And like you can ask a large brand, like who are your biggest distributors? And you can even pose as like not an Amazon seller. You can be like, I just like have a store, like where can I buy this stuff, like for my brick and mortar store, like if they're like really afraid of like online sellers. And then they can like sometimes it'll help you out and be like, oh, you could try this distributor in this region or something. So like that's one way to get a bunch of distributor names. But I mean, it's really just incredibly easy. Like you just find wholesale sellers, stock their storefronts, write down the brand names, go on the brand websites, fill out the forms, or like pick up the phone and call or send them an email. And my success rate is probably like 30%, maybe. Which is probably
astronomical. But when you
think
come
it's pretty high
with the pockets you have, I'm sure that helps. When the sales reps hear that.
Yeah, exactly. So like, yeah, I'd say like tips to get wholesale accounts, like make a website. I made a like a Squarespace website, and it's very easy these days to make a very professional looking website pretty easily. Like you don't need a web designer. Like you can throw something together in like less than a week that looks like very, very nice. And like the old dudes that like run these companies and old sales reps, like they don't know the difference. They just look, they're like, oh, that looks pretty. Like these guys must be really legit. So like just, yeah, make a Squarespace website. Mine just says like what we do for brands, like how we can help and how we're not just like a regular online seller, like what marketplaces we sell on, and then like a little about us page with like my profile picture, background, and like some other people on there too, like my warehouse employees, and then just like a contact form. It's just like very simple, but it's clean and professional. And then like that, I think that gives me a leg up. Don't use a Gmail address, like get a domain name, address, so it looks like you work for a company, not just like your company name at gmail.com. Like that looks a little fishy. And I would make like a really professional email template. So like you're not like reinventing the wheel every time you like email a supplier. Like you can make a really nice template, like well written, well punctuated template to email. And like you can even go a step further. You can get like a designer to like design a really sleek looking PDF of like what you can do and like attach it to every email, and just, that'll impress someone and just be like, oh, wow. Like they see like all these graphics and stuff and just looks really nice. And then just like immediately makes an impression that like you're a real company. And then that alone gets me like more responses than like a random person, I believe. And then the other thing is if they're on the fence, we'll just be like, how about we do $100,000 opening order? And they're like, okay, like,
because they're probably commissioned.
Yeah. And then I've gotten other accounts like by begging too. They're just like, no more e-commerce sellers. And then I'm like, well, we also sell in Canada and Mexico. Like, do you have any Canada presence? Like we do, like we can sell there. Or like, all right, what if we like just bought your products for eBay and not Amazon? Like, just try and like go into like weasel your way into like any corner that you can. And sometimes they're like, okay, fine. And then like, once you're in the door, they'll be like, all right, whatever, just like buy what you want type of thing. Wow. And like, you'd be surprised if you're just persistent, like, and just like beg, not in like a needy way, but like, just be like, we really want this. Like, we love this company. Like I've gotten a lot of accounts on like the second, like, like, come on, please.
Follow-up. Yeah.
Right. And you can even go a step beyond that. Like if you just have a mentality, like do whatever it takes to get this account, like you could send the sales rep like a card, like you could show up in person. Like you could do, if you just have that like mentality, just like, whatever it takes.
Persistence. Yeah.
Yeah. Not to say it's always like that. Like most of the time I'll just fill out a contact form and they'll just like send me the list. And then another whole like song and dance, so it's a negotiation too. A lot of times we have to like beg for prices and like for the pricing we need and stuff, and like dangle these like huge orders in front of them to like, get the discounts we need. So like once you get the account, that's step one. But then a lot of times, like half the time, the pricing just doesn't make any sense and it all breaks even. And then you have to, work again to like try and get the pricing you need.
Man, anyone listening this far into the episode just got some gold, Miles.
Yeah, seriously.
Um,
And we're kind of going to finish up here. Just curious about what tools you use for your Amazon business.
Oh yeah, I use a lot of tools. So like I have a whole like software stack, and I hope someone someday creates like a all-in-one like ultimate Amazon seller software that does everything. It's like, so like, let me just run through the list. So Chrome extensions, I use Keepa and RevSeller. Those are obviously major ones. I use Amazon DS Quick View.
Which
I
is
use Helium
free
10.
and seriously good.
Yeah. That's for Chrome extensions. And then for softwares, I use Inventory Lab for keeping track of inventory and accounting. Actually, the accounting feature is like the best thing in Inventory Lab.
Yep.
You can actually see how much you're making. I use Restock Pro for purchase orders because once you'll get to a point in wholesale where you spend a lot of time typing out purchase orders in Excel, and if you have to like copy paste part numbers and like descriptions and quantities, like it gets really tedious. So Restock Pro will generate a PDF purchase order for you. Like you just click on the ASIN and like how many you want to order, and like throw that into a purchase order for you. So I use that for all my ordering and like replenishing, and you can use it for wholesale and OA actually. I use Seller Snap for repricing products, which is very expensive. It's like $400 a month. It's not totally necessary, but it's all AI repricing, and they do some things where it's like it tries to avoid like the race to the bottom type of wars, and there are all sorts of like smart features you can use with it. It only makes sense at scale. I would say for a beginner, just go with like what was it called? Be Cool is what I used to use. It's like $25 a month. That's like an economical thing that repricer that does like all you need it to in the beginning. What else? I don't know. There's more, but I guess those are the names. Oh yeah, 2D Workflow is another one I use for our 2D barcodes, and that's help make my workflow a lot more efficient, save a ton of time and money. Those are the major ones I'd say.
Cool. All right. Well, we see some of the warehouse lights going out in the back, so I think we'll finish up here then. So where can everyone find you on social media if they want to reach out or anything?
Yeah, so my social media is 1000 ASIN, so the number 1000, and then ASINs, AIS. Wow, I can't spell. ASINS, like ASIN. I took like a long break from posting, but this year I'm going to try and be a lot more active. And I don't think I'm going to make a course or anything, but I just want to engage with sellers. I've learned a ton from other sellers just by engaging with them, and I would encourage everyone else to do the same. So like, anyone listening can drop me a question. I'm happy to help out however I can. And and then for you arbitragers, I'm going to drop a couple more gems for you if you're not aware of these things yet. So for cashback, it's not just Rakuten. There's a site called Cashback Monitor, which compares all the cashback websites for a merchant.
Writing that down.
Yeah, Cashback Monitor, because there are like probably 50 different cashback websites, and a lot of times I found like Rakuten's 1%, and then this other one is like 7%, and I'll like, it's a huge difference. And I'm yet to not be paid by any of these websites. Like sometimes they look a little weird or like sketchy, but they're all legitimate. Like, so I'd say go for them. Maybe not do a massive order at first with them, like test it out, make sure you get paid. But a lot of times you can find substantially better cashback if you go to Cashback Monitor first and just pick the highest one. Then the other one for gift cards, I hope everyone's utilizing discounted gift cards. Have you guys talked about that in your podcasts?
Not as much as we should. I personly haven't utilized it like I know you should. And
I'm going to drop. I'm going to make you a bunch more money, Miles, right now.
Yeah.
So Rakuten actually has this little known thing, surprisingly, called the Rakuten Gift Card Shop. So if you type in a merchant, it'll show the cash back, but below it, it will often say like what their gift card thing is. So like, so one online merchant I spend over 6 figures with a month, I buy 10% discounted gift cards. They're regularly 10%, and it's just a 10% discount on top of the regular Rakuten cashback. And a lot of times, like if you're getting like shoes and stuff, Nike will have like 7% off gift cards, 10% off gift cards. So you stack the regular cashback with the gift cards. So check out Rakuten gift card shop, and then there are a bunch of other discounted gift card websites. One's called Card Cash. That's one of the major ones. But there's another website that aggregates all the discount websites called giftcardwiki.com and then cardbear.com. And it'll compare it'll give you the absolute maximum discounted gift cards. And I've saved tens of thousands of dollars arbitraging using discounted gift cards. So a lot of my Rakuten earnings, like those big $20,000, $30,000 checks, half of that is from the discounted gift cards I bought from Rakuten gift card shop.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for all the
that'll supercharge all your time.
Take up too much of your time. Hopefully, sometime next 12 months we can get another episode in. But seriously, thank you. This is gonna help a ton of people. Yeah,
you got it.
And we really
I've got a lot more gems too, a lot more. So have me back a couple months. I'll try and drop some more stuff on you guys.
That's what's up. So
thanks, man.
Yep. And thanks to everyone listening this late as well. We'll see you guys on Friday for another episode.
All right. Thanks, guys.